excited to have everybody here and everyone who is watching at home. Today we are at the beautiful Myriad Gardens in Oklahoma City. We are so excited to be able to use this facility today, and a special thank you to John Rex Middle School and the middle school principal, Patrick Duffy, for allowing us to use the new 7th grade classroom today to do our show. So that's really exciting. Yay, Myriad Botanical Gardens! And today we have a wonderful guest. Her name is Lily Peppers. Yay!
Hello.
She works here, and she'll tell us now a little bit about herself.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm very excited to be on the show. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who joined for this show as well. Special shout out to my wonderful boss, Joel. He really encouraged me. When going on the show, I was a little nervous, but he's been, yes, very encouraging. So I work at the Myriad Gardens, like Pallas said. I am the Youth and School Programs Coordinator. So basically it means I work with all of the youth that come to the gardens. So that's family programs on the weekends on a variety of subjects, and also our school programs. So we have field trips that come to the gardens, and so I book all of those and teach all of those with a fair amount of help. My background is actually not in horticulture or plants. It's in physics and geology.
Oh, so, that's interesting.
Yeah, very different. So I've certainly learned a lot having started this job about plants, which I'll tell you more about later.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's a little background about
So you started in physics and geology. What got you kind of interested in those subjects?
Yeah, science had always been my favorite subject in school. I was never like the top student in it, but it was something that really excited me. So when I went to college, I really didn't know what I wanted to major in, but I was pretty sure I wanted it to be a science of some sort. And I was in a couple different intro levels, and I just really gravitated toward the physics department at the college I was at. It was a really small department. The teachers were really supportive, and I really liked my classmates that they already knew they were going to be physics majors. So they kind of like I kind of tagged along with them. So yes, I was a physics major, and then I discovered geology my sophomore year. And that was something that I think maybe if I had known before freshman year and before I declared, I might have been a geology major, but it was nice getting to do a little bit of both in college. So
how did you discover geology? Like, was there an experiment that you did that was like, whoa, what is this? Or
I took an intro level class, and geology at our school is really known where they totally hooked you with those intro levels. So like their intro levels, the one I took was natural hazards, and it was so that's what really drew me to it. We went through all the different types of natural hazards, and I thought it was really, of course, not the hazards being fascinating. That doesn't sound very good. But all the geology and science behind it, I thought was incredible to learn about.
That is so cool.
Yeah, that 100 level really got me interested.
And do you use any geology or physics in your current position here?
A little bit, yeah. If I get to pretty much pick the classes that I get to teach, like on weekends to families, and so I try to fit it in when I can. So I get to use it a little bit, not in any super deep way, but yeah, I definitely do.
Right.
A little
well,
bit,
and that's awesome to be able to teach something that you're obviously passionate about too, because then you can get kids interested in something that you've been interested in.
Oh yeah.
So how would you describe working here in the education and doing the programming?
Yeah, like a just kind of typical day, or what I do.
Yeah, sure. Typical day, whatever you do, however you want to describe to people, describe to them how you work.
Yeah. So I will say, I think I was a little bit intimidated to come on the show because it's interviewing scientists, and I think I kind of forget that I really am a scientist. It's not like I'm doing, I think of science research as sort of more like very much a scientist, and I did that before this job. So in this job, I'm not necessarily doing typical science every day, but I do a wide variety of things. So I wear a lot of hats, like many people who work at the gardens do. Like I book school groups that come in, and all of our adult guided tours. And so I get to interact with not only kids, but I also get to interact with those adults and seniors that come for the tour. And so with those, we're mostly teaching about the Crystal Bridge Conservatory, which has a rainforest and a desert in it. So I definitely had to learn a lot about the plants in there and the history of that place, because that's really what we teach about for the visits.
Right.
But then I think I've sort of mentioned a couple times the classes I teach on the weekends. We do a wide variety of topics there. So I've done like a pond class about frogs and plants that live in ponds, and I've done more like rock and geology classes. Of course, I sneak those in. And just more, we've done like greenhouse classes and just a wide variety.
That is so cool.
Classes, so.
Are there any misconceptions about the Myriad Gardens or about being a geologist or anything about your experience as a scientist that you've come across? And how would you kind of counteract those misconceptions?
Yeah. Well, I think a big one with the gardens is the gardens has been a while here in Oklahoma City for a while, but it's really evolved over the course of many years with different renovations and just different staff members. So I think a lot of people don't always realize that we have education programs and we have public events down here. Like later tonight is Cat Video Festival.
I know, I'm so excited about the
Which is one of my favorite events. That's why I wore a sort of cat shirt. So we do. People, I love that we have a public park here. People come and use the public park, use the fountains, but I think a lot of times they don't always realize the additional programs that we offer. So, definitely I just try to get the word out about there. And then I guess misconceptions with geology and physics, I don't know. I think one that I sort of found to be correct with research, which was one of the reasons why I left research, was I sat a lot at a computer and looked at data. And, I think that's a conception about science research, and I think it's a little bit true, at least the work that I was doing, so.
And of course, every science field, you're going to have researchers and people that really have to dig deep into the data. But everyone has different personality types, and they all learn differently. So it's fun that you get to be more hands-on. Yeah. So that's exciting.
Absolutely.
So what are you most proud of in your career in science so far?
I would say it's kind of a general one, not super specific, but I'm really proud of where I've come since working at this job. I think it's really my second job out of college. Like I was saying, I did research before, but here I feel like I've grown so much. Like when I first came on, I'd done informal education, but I didn't have like any training or education in education. So I think I just really learned a lot quickly. I also didn't have much of a background in plants or horticulture, so I had to kind of learn a lot about that. So I just feel like looking back on when I first started here and where I'm at now, I'm in my role, I'm just really independent in the department. I rely on my coworkers and my supervisor, but I know what I have day to day that I'm doing, and so I think I'm just really proud of just the kind of where I'm at in my job now and how I've grown.
That's so exciting though, and being able to kind of come in as a fish out of water, so to speak, and then just like create your own little environment that you're succeeding at. So that's really awesome. So you kind of talked a little bit about what got you interested in geology and physics, but what got you interested in working here at the Myriad Gardens, like going from one to the other? How did you make that switch?
So in college when I was majoring, I also did a lot of educational outreach, mostly in the physics department, but also in the geology department. And I always loved that. And it sort of never occurred to me that I could do that for a job. Like I think most of the people around me in physics were like gonna go get PhDs and do more of what I think of as a sort of a typical trajectory as a scientist or a researcher. So I kind of, I guess I'm gonna do that too. So it wasn't until a couple years of doing research where I was still doing some volunteer outreach, and I was like, I got a little more sense of the world, and I was like, okay, I could actually look into this for a job. I could do that. So I think I kind of always knew I had that passion since college, and I think one of the reasons why I love that is because I am a very excitable person, and when I learn something new, like I want to tell the person that's next to me about it. And so in education, you basically get to do that. You get to I get to look in books and look on the internet about a topic, and then I get to teach kids about it. So I just realized how much I enjoyed that. And I was fortunate that I got an internship at the Gardens, because if you look at my resume, I don't think they would have just handed me a job. I mean, who knows? But I got to be an intern and kind of show that even though I didn't have necessarily the typical training for an educator, that I could do it pretty well. And so then I applied when a position came up, and I was given the job.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So would you recommend getting internships to people that are interested in?
Yeah, I have to say that all the jobs that I've gotten in my life have been from like an internship or a connection. Now that's not to say you can't just kind of apply for a job, not have a connection, not have any experience with that company and get it. Of course you can do that, but I've found it's been so helpful for me. Internships, it was the same with my job out of college. So I've had an internship with this place during college, and then when I graduated they had a position that I applied for. So yeah,
that is so cool. And it just kind of all fell into place.
Yeah, it felt
awesome.
And I think that was probably also the reason why I went to research. It was like I already had this sort of thing lined up. It was just easy, so yeah.
That definitely happens.
Yeah, the door's open.
So what do you like most about working here?
Ooh, that's
so many things.
So many things came to my
choose.
mind. It really is, yeah. I think it feels really special. I think a lot of people know about the gardens, so I'm really proud to say that I work at the gardens. I think there's a lot of interest. So I think just the excitement around it is neat. My favorite part is my weekend classes, that I get to choose the topics and kind of do my own research on a small level and then figure out how I'm going to work with the students to teach them.
That is so cool. And I'm sure watching the people like learn, the kids, the little light bulbs going off is exciting.
It's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So have you had any challenges other than kind of finding all the pieces of your puzzle that you need to put together? Have you had any specific challenges in your field, either here or previous? Yeah,
I think kind of two things come to mind. I think it was something that came up in actually a past show. I was watching some of the past Yes Science shows, which I think are almost all of them are online if you guys want to check them out. And one of the women, Dr. Smith, brought up the idea of the imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. So I think that I really suffered from that when I was doing research. So I think one of the reasons why that was just a really big challenge for me. And I kind of wish that, I think maybe research really isn't for me, but I think that there was a way in which I kind of wish I had worked through that a little bit better. And so yeah, that was hard for me. I think I have kind of always just felt like I was tagging along, kind of like I said to you, when in reality, I did my own research, I had my own projects, and I was successful in a way that I don't think I've recognized since I've gotten past it.
And sometimes it's very hard to recognize your success when you're in the midst of it, right? Looking back, you can always say, oh wow, I've done so much. Yeah. But when you're in the middle, you're like, ugh, what do I have to do next? I have 8 things I need to do. But yeah, taking that time to reflect and really feel successful in the moment is awesome.
Yeah,
so that's good.
Definitely.
And it's, even though you don't feel like you overcame that challenge, I really bet that you did, and you're just not seeing it yet.
Yeah, well, I think for me, just what I've realized is like recognizing when I'm having those thoughts.
Right.
Like that is what's helpful for me, to just realize like that, and I have all these things that basically combat that idea of in reality. So. Yeah.
It's that adulting thing where everyone's like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just pretending that I know what I'm doing. Yeah. But really, we all effectively know what we're doing. We're just scared that we're not quite doing it well enough.
Yeah. Or we're all just pretending with each other. And
but
so
nobody knows.
It's really not imposter. If everyone's pretending, then
Right, it's fine. Yeah. So what did you have to learn or study to get to this position that you're at? I know you said originally you didn't have, an education background. So what did you have to do to kind of learn?
Yeah, I think when I first came on, I really looked to mentors that I had here and in the community, and really just kind of like got guidance from them, like just watching them work when they would lesson plan, just kind of seeing a format that worked, and kind of seeing what things that they did that I really was like, I think that really engaged the kids. So I think for me it was a lot of just experiencing the other people that I was working with.
Kind of apprenticing.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great word. I really felt like I did that, and now I can sort of step back and see that I can really recognize I'm not really doing that anymore, which is exciting. That was, I think, feels like an accomplishment to me. So that was sort of a big one that I would say helped me get up to where I needed to be in the job.
And that's such great advice for anybody too, to be able to see somebody that you appreciate as being good or great or excellent, and really kind of saying, hey, show me what you do. You're already fantastic. I really want to learn from you. So that's really great.
Yeah, exactly. As opposed to just seeing them as like, oh, they're so great. You know, I think you can really take things from that. You can really learn from them. So
that's so cool.
Yeah.
So do you have any advice for people that are interested in getting into the field of science, either physics, geology, or even working in biology or teaching kids science?
I feel like this feels a little cliche, but I think you just have to go down whatever path you're kind of on at that moment. I certainly had no idea the path that I was going to take, and I don't regret that I was not an education major. I think there's a lot of things that I still really use. I probably don't even realize from my physics and geology background that I use in education now. So I think, yeah.
Just go whatever path feels right?
Yeah, and just kind of, and like, I think also thinking about, you know, sort of that idea of like not regretting. You know, I think sometimes I used to look back on the time I did research, like, why didn't you realize that you didn't really want to be doing research, Lily? But I think it just took me experiencing that, and a lot of times you kind of don't really know a great job or a perfect job until you cross some other things off your list.
Right,
too.
absolutely.
So kind of just testing that out. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's totally okay to not go down the path that you thought that you're going to do, and that's really awesome. Yeah. Do you have any words of wisdom that like kind of helped you through your challenge or switching positions or anything like that? That you kind of a mantra or a quote or?
Not anything specific that can kind of come to mind. I think the two things that I sort of thought of when you asked that were, for me, I had really wonderful, not only mentors, but just people in my life that I could seek wisdom from or just kind of talk something through. I felt like I got a lot of advice from people that knew me well and that wanted to see me succeed. So I think I really utilize the people around me.
That is such great advice. Absolutely.
Yeah, so.
Well, and some people struggle internally and don't ever like talk it out. So being able to talk to people.
I'm a talker outer. I think a lot of people that are here can attest to that. I got to talk it out to figure it out. Yeah.
Good. Well, and a lot of people, especially in the science fields, like they kind of internalize everything. Yeah. But you know, you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Everyone's working on their own things. So that's awesome. So today we are going to make terrariums, and I'm very excited about this because I've never made a terrarium. Just like every other science experiment we've ever done on Yes Science, I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do it. So we are going to move this table out of the way and bring our terrariums over, and we'll get started. I believe there's a bucket of dirt underneath we're supposed to be careful of.
Oh yes, I don't want to spill that. That would be no good.
I'm disappearing.
And before I came to the gardens, I'd never built a terrarium either. So I've learned just in my time here from having to teach classes about it, I've learned how to do it. So
I love this multifunctional classroom we've got going on over here.
Yeah, John Rex, this is their middle school space, and they have the coolest equipment that they get to use technology-wise, and it's incredible.
Woo, all these fun things. All right. We have this fancy what the terrarium is going to look like in the end. I feel like that's our little guideline today.
It is. I did a little diagram for myself just in case I got really
I love it.
nervous.
It gives me a visual of what I'm, oh, there's a dinosaur.
Yep. I brought some fun stuff for you to add to the terrarium, Pallas.
This is so cute.
Appreciate it.
I wish that he could really be here in real life.
That would be neat.
So what's first? What do we do?
So the first thing, I've actually never made a terrarium this size. This is a very large.
Gigantic?
You don't have to buy one this large. This is a little bit more of a reasonable size. Here's an example one. You can see my colleague Olivia made this.
This is very cute.
There's actually no typical plants you'd think of in a terrarium. She did a moss terrarium, so it's actually keeping the moss alive. So she sprays them and yeah, it's very cool. So the first thing in a terrarium that we're going to put down are the stones.
Okay.
So if you want to put a good layer that just really covers the bottom there.
Ooh.
Oh, I think it's already open. Oh, sorry, Pallas.
You're fine. I didn't know.
And the stones, what they do is they help with any excess water. Because obviously, yeah, that's great.
I'll just put in all of them.
Perfect. We'll use all. I like it. It's a big terrarium. It can use it. So what it does is with a terrarium, like a normal pot, there's no holes in the bottom for water to drain, because a lot of plants don't like to sit with their roots in water. So we put this so that the water can just kind of sit in these rocks if there's any extra when you're watering it, as opposed to the soil, because in the soil it'll start to mold and rot. So then the next thing we're going to put is actually charcoal. So this is going to be a little messy. So let's actually we're going to use this one instead.
Do we need gloves?
I think.
Or tweezers? Or just our
not
hands?
Yet, not yet. We're gonna let's just if you want to sprinkle it,
Sprinkle, okay.
And just not a super thick layer, just so it's kind of covering a fair amount of the rocks. Let's see here.
I have never used charcoal for like anything in my life. Maybe grilling?
Maybe grilling, yeah.
Maybe
so this
grilling?
is slightly different. This is actually carbon you use in a fish tank. But what this does is it helps purify. So again, it's going to make sure that you don't have the soil or anything that's rotting. Let's do a little more,
Okay.
A little more, but this looks great.
It's already pretty, and it's just rocks and charcoal.
Yeah, it's true. You can do like cool sand layers. You don't even need to put plants in here. That looks great.
Yay!
Okay, so we'll cap this. All right, and now we can put gloves on if you want. I'm sure if any of
It says, let's do this. I dig it.
Oh, cool. Okay,
All
so
right.
I'll put on one glove. Do you prefer left or right?
I am indifferent.
Okay, awesome. We can both help with this.
Yay! Okay.
So now
Is it like a lot of soil that we
Yeah, we need a lot of soil.
Okay.
So it's okay if we're going to get a little messy, but I promise I'll clean it up.
Woo. Oh, the soil smells so good.
Yeah. So you'll notice there's a lot of white particles in the soil, and that's perlite. So that just helps kind of keep the soil aerated, and again, it will help absorb some of that moisture so that you don't get that rot in there. Because typically, the plants we're going to put in here are succulents, and they really they don't like it when their roots are very wet. Most people destroy their terrariums or kill their plants in the terrariums by overwatering. You actually really want to neglect your terrarium, which is great because I neglect a lot of my plants. So terrariums work really well in my house. So we really want to fill it up about even halfway. So kind of like we can even go a little bit more here.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll do one more scoop if you want to do like 2 more. That'd be great.
My hands are small, so are you sure it's 2?
Yeah, maybe 3, you're right.
Okay.
Let's see, we can always add some more if we need to. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, I'm gonna get this out of the way. And then we're gonna really wanna make sure it's flat, because when you water it, you don't want anywhere that's really pooling water.
Okay.
So that's looking pretty good. And again, I've never used a plant this large in a terrarium, so let's start with the small ones. So what you're going to want to do is, these are little aloes, I believe. So you kind of want to squish the outside of the planter just to loosen the root ball a little bit and get it ready to be pulled out. And then we're going to just make a little spot here. So we're going to kind of put my fingers here in the soil, make a little divot. So you're going to pull it out. You can just kind of carefully, just like that. Yep, and I will take this from you. And I know it can be a little awkward, so you want to really get it in there. And the important thing is you want the soil level that the plant started at in the planter to be the same where it's at in this new planter, right? You don't want it to be raised up above the soil or way down below. So that is looking great, just like that. We're going to really want to press this guy in, around it. Awesome.
Yay.
Okay, nice. And I will do this guy here. Let's do him kind of close. So just like that.
Are they gonna fight?
I think they should be okay.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure how large these guys go. I'll give them a little bit more space. Just like that.
Not like beta fish. We don't have to worry about them arguing over space.
Okay, we can do this big guy.
Okay, all right.
Guy?
So probably in the
I think
back.
kind of in the back
I guess
here.
Is that enough room?
And let's actually, I want to give them a little space with the glass. So let's kind of just get
right
in there.
All right.
And we can kind of pile it up and pull dirt out if we need to. So I'm going to have you loosen that.
Ooh, I'm squeezing dirt out. Soil, not dirt. I'm not trying to be mean. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Filling around there. Very good. Yeah, that's the thing about these bowl terrariums. It's kind of tricky to work around. And then we kind of want to come in here, the back of my hand, and I'm going to kind of press it in. So we really make sure that he's solidly in there. Oh yeah, it's awkward around this side. Okay, well that'll work.
We got it.
Okay, so that's essentially how you plant the plants.
Cool.
There's a little bit of a technique too, when we'd probably want to water this when you're first doing a terrarium so the plants can kind of settle, but I didn't want to make anything messier. And then you get to add fun stuff.
Yay,
so
fun
if you want to, you
stuff.
can decorate. I have some sea glass, rocks. These are really cool, of course, my geology.
Look kind of like little flowers.
Yeah, so it's actually our state rock. It is a red rose rock, and yeah, they're really cool. You can find them here in Oklahoma.
I've been in Oklahoma my whole life and had no idea what our state rock was.
Yeah.
These are so cool. They look literally like little roses.
Yes, they're wonderful.
So
and they really, I mean, they get their color, of course, from our red dirt, so I think it's pretty special.
Aww. Yay! This is so fun. I'm just putting little flowers in the terrarium. These ones I don't have to worry about keeping alive.
Exactly. And that's the thing is, if you're worried about keeping plants alive, you can always just make a nice little terrarium. But I really will say, it's like I said, you can neglect these plants. So I have terrariums at home where, I go for a month or so without watering, and when the leaves start to look shriveled, it doesn't mean they've died. You just put some water in there or spritz them, and they'll boost back up and get kind of fleshy again.
What? That is so cool.
Yeah, so it really is, it's pretty easy to take care of, I have learned. You can put the dino in there if you want.
Oh, yes.
And also I brought our Mars rover.
These are so pretty.
So of course, all of my terrariums at home, I have a bunch of rocks in them because I love different rocks.
Well, and this little bowl here that she gave me has all these different pretty colored ones too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I hope every single person that is watching this makes a terrarium because this is like too awesome. I can't even. So what are some like popular, I guess, how-tos in terrariums, like taking care of them?
Yeah, so we did succulents in these. So this is a jade, these are aloes, like I said, and they really are okay to dry out. They're more desert plants. So you like I said, really the way to take care of them, honestly, is to neglect them for a little bit. Yeah.
Don't do anything.
Overwatering is bad. If you start to notice that the leaves are kind of like molding and kind of wet, that means you're overwatering it. Sun is really good for them, so you want to make sure they're in a nice sunny window. You can put other types of plants in terrariums that are more like rainforesty plants. Yeah, little shell creature.
Adorable.
These are just things I randomly brought from my office. But you can. I have like Lego figures in some of my terrariums and
This
just
is so
random
fun.
things. So yeah.
Awesome. So is there any worries about like I guess mold or anything? That's only if you overwater it, right?
Yeah, so exactly. The mold is, like I said, it's the biggest culprit for why people's plants and terrariums don't do well. So if it's starting to mold, it's a big indicator that you're overwatering it.
So I know in some house plants, people will take eggshells and put them in there to like put nutrients in. You don't know about this.
I don't
You're looking
know
at me
about
like
this.
I'm crazy.
No.
So I had a roommate once. I came home and she had been making eggs and she had put half an eggshell in my plant. I was like, what is going on? This is so weird. And apparently it's like a thing people do to put nutrients in. I was gonna say, should I do that for my terrarium? But
well, so it's interesting. I think what does make sense to me is you put eggshells in compost,
Okay.
and so when you're composting, because it does add nutrients and it'll start to break it down. So I think that I think that there's probably something to be said for that. I think probably for how long it would take to decompose. I don't know how quickly or fast that happens. But I don't think it would hurt it if you wanted to put eggshells in a terrarium.
I was just curious.
I think most of these plants too, you don't. Another option for providing nutrients, right, would be to put like a fertilizer or something in there. But I've never actually fertilized any of my terrariums, and they're doing okay.
Okay,
So.
cool.
Yeah.
This is probably too big for like a desk terrarium, but I suppose people could have like a cute little one on their desk.
There's this,
like these.
and there's a couple in the back that are like our tiny
Smaller.
little mini terrariums.
That's
So you
so
can do all
fun.
types of sizes, and you could just have one that had like just one little plant in it, and yeah,
That's so
it would
great.
do well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for teaching me how to make a terrarium. Like
Absolutely.
looking at all these cute little, oh, okay, well, this is what that is. So we did
Yeah,
all of that.
the different
Sun
layers.
is good. That's important to know. Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next we're going to discuss the book that you brought. But let me move. You know what? We can leave the terrarium up here, right? It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to grab a little book stand and put the book you brought. It's called A Short History of Nearly Everything. So what got you interested in this book?
So I first read it in high school, and so Bill Bryson is the author, and he is a wonderful author in that he writes about all different subjects, and he sort of does his due diligence, he does his research, and mostly he writes about, like, he's written a lot of books about visiting different places or countries, and he just tells really wonderful, funny stories about visiting these places. So what this book is doing is, his inspiration was he was like flying across some desert one time, and he was like, I wonder how we know anything about what's underneath that desert. So his idea with this book is that he was going to do, he did all this research of how scientists basically figured out all these things that we know about the Earth, like how old the Earth is and where we are in the solar system and the universe. And so he lays out basically the answers to all those questions in the most wonderful, funny, interesting way. So for someone who, like, I was very new to science at the time in high school, and I certainly wasn't an expert on anything he was talking about. So he really lays it out in a way that I think anyone can understand, and in a very funny way too, which engages me. So yeah, I just was really engaged by not only what he was saying, but by how he lays it out.
Right. So that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so interesting. Every once in a while, authors will try to like throw in some science while you're reading. I don't know if any of you have read the children's series, A Series of Unfortunate Events, but there's this random part when Lemony Snicket just starts describing the water cycle, and it's like just a whole chapter on the water cycle, and it's fun and it's interesting and it engages you know, kids while they're reading, because why else would they read about the water cycle? I'm reading about 3 orphans that are going through some tough times, okay? Why am I reading about the water cycle? But it all ties in, right? It's a giant metaphor for life. So I've always found it fascinating, because I don't necessarily love to read a lot of nonfiction, because sometimes it can be a little dry. So knowing that this author really tries to make it
interesting. I will say, that's actually something I did want to mention. I never read nonfiction. Like, I don't at all. I'm like, I was going to bring Harry Potter, honestly, but Dr. Smith brought it last time, so I had to bring something different. So really, it's one of the only nonfiction books that I've really ever read and loved. So I think it definitely speaks to the fact that it's very engaging, and he writes it really like he's telling a story, and it's really wonderful.
That is really great.
Yeah.
That is awesome. So is there any specific part that you were reading that inspired you, or that you found very interesting, that kind of stayed with you since high school when you read it?
Yeah, so one of my favorite things, and I was actually going back and reading a couple things from it just to get ready for the show, because I knew I was going to talk about it, but he, one of the things is he really talks about how incredibly lucky and fortunate we all are to be here, in the sense that there are so many things that could have gone wrong along the way. So sort of his intro is like, congratulations that you are here. Like, you have done a great job. All of your ancestors have successfully created offspring, and you know, he kind of goes into that. It's very funny. So just he provides this like wonderment of the fact that we all exist, and it's kind of almost really philosophical in a way.
Have you ever seen Watchmen?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Okay, so it's a movie from like a decade ago. But anyway, so Dr. Manhattan, is that his name? He's this big blue guy, and he has this whole monologue near the end of this movie about almost exactly that. And he's just like, he just goes into this deep philosophical moment and just lays out this 10-minute monologue about like, be happy, be proud, like everything is wonderful and perfect, and you are here and you should be proud of that. So that's what it reminded me of.
Similar.
For all the nerdy people out there that have seen Watchmen. Yeah, that's so cool. It makes me really want to read it.
Yeah, and like sort of at the end, his whole thing is we are so lucky to be here, and so he really encourages science in it, that like we should explore, we should be aware of what we have here, and learn about things. So I think,
yay, learning! Yeah, that's so exciting.
Cool. It's a wonderful
I'm
book.
excited to read it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now I'm going to open it up to anybody in the audience that has any questions for Miss Lily Peppers today. Does anybody have any questions about physics, geology, Myriad Gardens, this wonderful, awesome nonfiction book, or anything else today? Yay, we have a question. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a mic, okay? So this is the mic that I'm going to throw to you. It's soft. If you want to move up, you're more than welcome to. When you're speaking into it, you hold it like this, and this little part's the mic. So I'm gonna toss it to you. Woo! Yes!
What is the coolest plant in your gardens?
What is the coolest plant here?
Oh, that's so hard. Oh my goodness.
Too many to choose from.
There's so many to choose from. Oh, that's a really good question.
Do we need to narrow it down, like tree, plant, fruit bearing?
No, I have a really cool one.
Okay.
Okay, so it's called a starfish plant, and it's over on the desert side. And so there's some other plants in the conservatory that when I take people around, they get to smell like the beautiful smelling flowers, and it smells like Hawaii, and it's wonderful, and they love it. But the starfish plant has this wonderful, gross smelling flower that smells like rotting meat, honestly. It smells really gross, but it's because it attracts flies. So it's cool to think about the different adaptations that plants
So does
have.
it attract flies because it then eats the flies?
No, it just wants a fly to help pollinate it.
Okay.
Yeah. So it attracts the flies because flies are attracted to that smell.
I don't think I knew that flies can pollinate things, so that's interesting.
Flies are a big pollinator. Really, almost every insect.
That's so cool and very interesting. Also, you didn't choose the good smelling one.
No, I think just the reaction the kids give is really awesome and
that's
wonderful.
so funny.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah. Starfish
gross.
are lifesaver plant. I think it's
That is so cool. All right. Does anybody else have any questions? No?
Question?
You don't want to use the cool companion cube? Yay!
What's your favorite age group to work with?
Ooh, favorite age group to work with? Demographic question.
I would say probably elementary school. I love like the 3rd, 4th, 5th graders. They're still so excited about school and being at the gardens and learning. So they naturally engage with me. I really don't have to do a lot of work. It's kind of my secret, actually. They just are automatically super excited by what I'm telling them.
Like what?
So I really like that age group.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
That is a good age group. I taught middle schoolers, and I like them because they were so wonky.
Yeah, they are. That's a crazy. I don't work with them very often, so I get a little. I'm like, I don't know what to do with the
They're
middle
all different and unique and fun and rebellious, and they're glorious.
Yes.
So many wonderful kids. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out today to Yes Science! We have talked today to Lily Peppers. We made terrariums. We discussed an awesome nonfiction book that everybody should read. And we're very happy to be here at the Myriad Botanical Gardens. So thank you guys so much. Thank you, Lily Peppers. Woo!
Thank you. Thank you so much.